This is Ice Cream Gecko, and in today's video we're going to take a look at the Ben & Jerry's topped salted caramel brownie. Let's zoom in on that so that I can read you what's here on the bottom. It's vanilla ice cream, a salted caramel swirl, brownies, chocolatey chunks, and a chocolatey hazelnut topping. Interesting. Now the very top is a bit dented in. I tried to get some ice out from under that particular plastic seal. This is not the fault of the guys at the Ben & Jerry's factory. Let's take off that particular seal. Take a look at the side of it. Yeah, let's take a look at the outside at first. Pause if you want to read this. Pause if you want to read the ingredients list in French, and pause if you want to read the ingredients list in Dutch, and pause if you want to read the nutrition table right here. 403 grams in 438 milliliters. Now let's zoom out just a little bit, take off the very top and see how it looks. It looks surprisingly good. We've got our top right there, and we've got those what are they called, fat glazed pieces, chocolatey chunks maybe, and that's the chocolatey hazelnut topping on the very top covering it. I'm not entirely sure if I should do my usual thing with cutting this open, but I think I'm going to do that just for tradition's sake. Let's see where we cut this for maximum efficiency when it comes to taking a look at the ingredients list in the already cut state. Alright, first cut is placed. Go for a second one. No? Oh, it's a bit difficult to get out. Let's see if I've done a, well, not the best of jobs, so it's a job. It's a job done. That's the most important part. This is it in the cross section. Looks quite decent actually. Those chocolate pastry pieces look alright. The base ice cream as well. That very topped top seems to be quite thick, thicker than I expected actually, and we've got some caramel sauce throughout. So I'm going to keep the left one, and the right half is going back into the freezer, and I'll be back in a second. I am back at the desk, and I'm ready to take a closer look at this particular ice cream. Let us start with the signature move of Ben & Jerry's in this regard, the topped topping. It is softer than I expected. You can see right here, almost creamy chocolatey like chocolate at room temperature. That's the consistency of this. Those little fat glaze pieces on the very top are of course quite a bit harder, like regular darker ones. They are very difficult to extract, that I have to say for sure. Anyway, let's take a look at the ice cream itself. Maybe I can zoom in on that a little bit more even. The ice cream itself is nice and creamy. Vanilla base ice cream this is, with the salted caramel sauce. Looks good. It smells decent as well. It does smell of ice cream of course, but there's also a smell of freshly baked pastry in here, which is surprising. I didn't expect that at all. It really tastes a bit like a bakery in the morning with these pastries when you're over that particular counter. It comes very close to that. Something I absolutely did not expect to find on an ice cream at all. Anyway, the first spoon of the vanilla ice cream base with the caramel sauce, the salted caramel sauce, is going in. Surprisingly, it is quite mild. Very slight hint of that particular salty flavor. Not much at all. Very pleasant though. Very, very mild, pleasant flavor. Let's go for another one. It really tastes like very decent vanilla ice cream. And so far, no big flavor when it comes to that particular salted caramel flavor profile. But the base ice cream by itself so far is very decent. I had that particular flavor before. I know what it is like. Here in Germany, for example, I do not know where they originally come from. We've got like little milk caramel pieces. They're called mousse, M-U-H, and that 2 times. I'll put a picture of that on screen right now. And this tastes almost exactly like that, just as an ice cream. And I love these things. They're great. Yeah, it really comes very close to that. Let's take a look at a little ice cream spoonful with a bit of pastry in there. Very pleasant, I have to say. Surprisingly pleasant, actually. There is that certain chewiness of the brownie, also that stickiness to your teeth. With that ice cream, in conjunction with that, very, very pleasant texture and flavor profile in your mouth. I didn't expect it to be that good. Okay, but enough of the ice cream. We have still to check out the signature move of this particular product. I don't think I'm really going to get rid of the ice cream completely, but let's see how this one is, the very topping of it. Yes, that hazelnut topping, it tastes like nougat. It probably is nougat. Maybe they didn't want to call it that. Maybe nougat is something very special and I just don't know, but it tastes almost exactly like nougat. That of course also explains the particular texture. Those nougat bits for Christmas, they are just like that. Let's take a look at the chocolatey pieces on the very top. The cocoa containing fat glaze pieces, I think they're called, if I were to translate it literally from the ingredients list. Yes, those chocolatey pieces, they taste alright. They're quite sweet. They taste like, regular sweet darker couverture for cake and stuff. Nothing too special about these. I'm not really a big fan of those as like sweets by themselves without cake to them, but so far so good. I think it goes well with the nougat, and I'm going for another one. Then we're going to see how they are on the inside of the ice cream. Yes, the second piece, same story. Not my favorite kind of thing, but it blends in with that nougat very well. It really reminds me of Christmas. Now let's go for a little bit of ice cream base with one of these cocoa containing fat glaze pieces. I think they call it chocolatey chunks, was it that? I always tend to forget that. Chocolatey chunks, yeah, that's what they prefer to call them on the outside of the packaging. Surprisingly, these little pieces, at least this one here, taste a lot better with the ice cream rather than that particular nougat top. With the ice cream, it adds just the right amount of sweetness and cocoa-iness, I guess, to make it really pleasant as a flavor in your mouth. Interesting. So for the second spoonful of that particular thing, very pleasant overall. Maybe they should just have ditched that nougat hazelnut topping. That's the only thing I don't really like about this particular ice cream so far, is that particular hazelnut topping. The rest of it is brilliant. Alright, as you can see, this is melting quite quickly. Quite creamy, overall, very nice. I'm going to finish this off now, and I'll be back with you in just a second. The consumption process is now complete, and I'm ready to give you the points overview of this particular ice cream according to me and my review sheet. Now, the first impression was very decent. It looked very good. Even when we did our little cross-section of it, everything was evenly distributed. Maybe we just got lucky, but that's the first impression we had, and it was really good, almost brilliant. I do not really think that they could have done anything different when it comes to the actual presentation of this particular thing. Color-wise, same thing in that regard. Everything looked like it should, and yeah, on that I cannot, complain about anything, to be honest. Consistency and texture-wise, same story. Again, everything was behaving as expected. Now, that particular topping of it, that what is it called? The chocolatey hazelnut topping. I think that's what they mean by that. That was interestingly soft. As it turns out, it's a bit like nougat as a topping. Those little fat glaze pieces with the cocoa inside of there. Those chocolatey chunks, I think they want to call them. They were decent as well. Tasted a bit like, cheap couverture, but to me it doesn't really seem to matter if you get the more expensive ones or the cheaper ones. I think they taste very similar, no matter what the brand is. At least the ones that I had before. So I cannot really deduct any points in that regard, I have to say. They were nice and crunchy though, especially because of the cold. Those glazed pieces get quite crunchy. There's a bit of an interesting texture change as soon as they warm up, of course, but in that particular ice cream state, as it is right here, very decent overall. Same goes for the ice cream base itself. Really nice ice cream base with those swirls in there, those salted caramel swirls. I had nothing to complain about that either. The brownie pieces were nice and chewy. They stick to your teeth like brownie pieces do. And overall, in the consistency and texture department, this has pretty much achieved a full score. Taste-wise, now I have to deduct some points in that regard. Now, first off, I want to get this out of the way. I am not a fan of nougat at all. And the stuff that was here on the very top of this thing, which I suppose is the chocolatey hazelnut topping, it reminded me a lot of these older, cheaper Christmas nougat pieces that you get in the supermarkets. My parents loved to buy them. I always hated them. I ate them, but I didn't like them. I was a chubby kid. And that's what chubby kids do. Not my favorite thing, therefore, nowadays. Another thing that I didn't like about this was that the salted caramel swirl, I think it wasn't salty enough. You certainly had that particular flavor of the caramel, which was nice and rich and blended really well with that vanilla ice cream. But the saltiness, that didn't really get through too well. I had maybe 2 or 3 spoonfuls where I could taste some sort of salt, but in the others it just drowned in everything else, which isn't a bad thing. But if it was for me, they could have just crossed out that particular salted description on the top of the thing and kept it with caramel brownie. That would have been enough. Because they place it prominently on here, I expected a bit more of that particular salty caramel flavor. Overall though, very, very fine as a whole, as a product, as an ice cream, because that particular mixture of the vanilla ice cream with that caramel swirl blended, like I said previously, really well together and made the entire thing very enjoyable. So the only things that I can really deduct points for are kind of the nougat, but I don't really want to do that because maybe it's just me hating nougat or disliking nougat. Maybe if you like nougat you would love this, but all I can say is that this really reminded me of the cheaper nougat from back in the day, so I think that's what it is. So overall, in the flavor/taste department, this gets almost full points, but because of that particular hazelnut topping and the lack of salted flavor in the caramel, I have to deduct something because of that. Otherwise, very, very decently tasting ice cream. If it was for me, they could just take off that particular hazelnut topping and I would have one of the best Ben & Jerry's ice creams that are out there. This is, apart from the hazelnut stuff, one of the best that I've had up until this point, certainly. Theme realization wise, they certainly gave us what they said right here, apart from the salted caramel. It is a bit unfortunate. If they just left out that particular salted description, then they would have had a perfect description for what they've actually sold us, and I wouldn't have anything to complain in the theme realization department. But because of that, I cannot really let that slide. If you have to really taste what's written on the box, and in this case, unfortunately, there wasn't much saltiness. At least I didn't taste much of that. On a scale from 1 to 10, this particular ice cream therefore gets a 7.86, and I think this is the point at which I can wrap up this particular review. If you've got a question or a video suggestion, leave it in the comment section down below. And if you want to see more videos just like this one, please subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I'm going to see you soon. Until then, bye bye.